How's that? Welcome to the BNI Blast on Blab. If you're listening to this replay, please retweet this and share it with your followers and fellow BNI business networking colleagues. First of all, we'd like to start off this broadcast with a discussion or definition of what is BNI. BNI is a network, or is a acronym actually, for Business Networking International. BNI is the largest business networking organization in the world with over 180,000 members. Last year alone, BNI generated 6.6 million referrals. So this would be like 2 years ago, resulting in $8.6 billion worth of business for its members. BNI offers members the opportunity to share ideas, contacts. It's a very structured kind of networking approach. It's not like just hanging out for drinks with your friends over the lunch hour. But the most important thing about BNI is that it generates referrals. So if you're just kind of tuning into this broadcast, there's a little tweet button on the upper left-hand side of the screen. So go ahead and click that tweet to tweet this out to the world if you're connected to Twitter, or click the post on Facebook to get a few more people, get your friends and family to follow along if you'd like to do that. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Brian Lobig with Lobig Inc. Web Consulting. I work with marketing organizations on internet marketing strategies and small businesses. And I'm a member of a local BNI chapter here in Bethesda, Maryland, called the BNI Capital Business Alliance. And I'll have Philip introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Philip Day. I am the owner and manager of Philip Day Communications. This week, I want to tell you that I'm a copywriter. I love to write. Ever since I saw Rod Serling in The Twilight Zone back in, I don't know when it was, the 70s, when I was just a little guy, I fell in love with writing and with the art, which Garrett would appreciate, the art of writing. And so if you're looking for a copywriter, give me a call. But I'm glad to be here today as a co-host with Brian Lobig for BNI Blast on Blab. We've got a really interesting guest again. Like every week we have an interesting guest, and I'm excited tonight about this one.
Well, last week, I don't know about last week. It was kind of an interesting person we had in the show last week. I think he's is that James Bonato? I think he's listening in now, so I don't think I'll say
James. Yeah, I guess we can leave James out, but the rest of them, just kidding, James. Just kidding.
And the third person we'd actually like to introduce is Stephanie. If you want to come online real quick, Stephanie, and I'd like to make you a co-host so you can help manage the content on the side, and also kick out any trolls, as they call them, people who jump in and start bad-mouthing. There she is.
Hi, y'all.
Well, she introduce yourself a little bit.
To do that kind of thing. Anyway. Hey, Stephanie.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for a minute, Stephanie.
Sure. My name's Stephanie Montenegro. I'm the associate producer for the show here. So I take care of all the stuff behind the curtain. And I'll be taking care of the trollers?
The trolls.
Okay.
Yes.
The trolls.
So somebody comes on, they start cussing at Garrett because his ex, is got a beef with them. Then you can just kick her out pretty quick.
Sounds good.
I don't know what that's all about, but that's okay. We'll skip that.
And so Stephanie is really kind of the brains behind the show. She meets with every one of our visitors one-on-one and kind of runs them through how to set up the blab, making sure they have all the technology they need, doing kind of like a live test of the show. She does an introduction to Twitter. She's starting to get offers from my visitors, so I'm starting to get nervous that she's going to be leaving me soon.
Never.
So you can hang out there if you want to, Stephanie, or you can go off the sidelines. It's fine. I'd like to introduce to you Garrett Strang of GarrettStrangPhotography.com. He's a member also of my chapter, the BNI Capital Business Alliance in Bethesda, Maryland here. He's an award-winning professional photographer and also a director of photography. He has a master's degree in fine arts and has been a photographer for over 20 years. His photographic skills cover a broad range from personal portraits to architecture, special events, wedding, art, nature, and much more. Welcome, Garrett, and please fill in any gaps to that intro and share something personal about yourself too.
Well, thanks for that. Let me say it's great to be here. This is really, I like this. This is pretty cool technology. I'm not caught up on things as much, but I like this. This is quite good. It's also great to be a member of the BNI group. It's a great group. Very, very wonderful people in so many ways, highly professional and just really good friends. So it's really nice to have that environment. And so this is a nice extension of that. And thanks to Brian for, sort of putting all this together, and Stephanie. But anyway, yeah, as far as me, well, I mean, just briefly, those are just some quick things about my photography. I photograph just about everything, and I also do a lot of my own work too. A lot of black and white, a lot of art photography, because I come from an artistic background. I have a master's of fine art, so I bring a lot of that with me. I'm also a sculptor. Constantly producing original sculpture and artwork. Some of my passions. So I try and approach everything, even my photography, from sort of an artistic standpoint. I mean, that's my training and my background. So I try and incorporate all the elements of that: lighting, composition, color, form, everything in my work. Whatever I undertake.
Very good. We're starting to get a few questions from the audience on the side over there, but we're going to ask a few of our questions first. So stay tuned on your questions over there. We'll get to them. One of the questions is, one of the first questions was, that I'll have you think about for a second, is what have you heard about a potato photo that sold for $1 million recently? Have you heard of that, Garrett?
No, I haven't heard that one. No, I haven't.
Okay, I told him to send us a link, and we can see about that. There it goes.
Okay.
Well, first of all, let's tell us how you got started in photography. You said you've been in the business over 20 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started out in black and white, working, with film for years.
All right.
Before digital ever came around. I mean, we did everything with film, which is a great training, a great background, and I don't do film, 35 millimeter film anymore, but that's how I got my start. And then in the darkroom, which is fantastic, a fantastic way to get I guess just the grassroots basics experiences, it's darkroom work is fantastic. But I still do black and white a lot because I love the quality of it. And I don't know, I've just been photographing and been doing film. I did a lot of animation, 8 millimeter film work. When I was much younger, a lot of animation stuff, having fun playing around with that. So I've always done that. And then, of course, I did video and film for many years as well as a producer director. And then, of course, digital came along, and it just everything really changed.
Yep.
A lot, and for the better, I think.
Garrett, years ago I took the New York School of New York School photography course.
Yeah.
And one of the most important concepts they taught was the composition of the photo. Would you explain to me what exactly is composition, and is it still the most important part of the artwork itself? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, your composition is very important. I mean, I don't think color, composition, lighting, all those are extremely important. But when you look at photography, you've got a 3x4 format. It's a rectangular format, and in that form, you whenever you take a photograph, you're trying to take it in a way so that the composition will draw the viewer. Either it'll draw the viewer into the photo and then around in the photo. I mean, there's so many there's so much movement that goes on in a still format of still photograph, and you can see in ones that are really thought out and well composed that when you look at it, you really do visually, you get drawn into it, and you even move around. Your eye moves around to different subjects within the photo that actually are intentional. I mean, if you're really composing something well, the viewer will get drawn in and around, and that intention is of the photographer's intention to compose the photo that way. So that's one very successful element, the composition, and can make it very strong, and it could be even the simple composition can be strong, or it can be a very complicated composition and still be strong. So there's really no like dire set rule to fill that format, but composition and I think, color and line and diagonals, all those things are important.
Okay. Jordan has a question that's very relevant, and I know that you have a special affinity for black and white photography. He says, is it just me, or does it seem that black and white creates a uniquely detailed photograph?
Well, I think black and white, is strong because sometimes color can be a distraction, I think. I mean, I love color photography, but if you really are focusing on a theme or a subject, I hope I'm answering your question correctly, but I mean, black and white can be very dramatic. It sort of brings out an emotion, I think, that is within the subject matter of the photograph. It can be very strong emotion, and it's something that people relate to too on sort of a basic level. It's not, like I said, the colors are great, but the black and white can really have an emotional pull that sometimes color might be distracting.
Makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah.
That's a very thoughtful answer.
So
when you
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Garrett. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just want to make sure I answered that correctly.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, you did fine.
Sometimes I get a little wordy. I don't want to go on too much.
Hey, you can be wordy. We got 30 minutes, so that's okay. The photography business now has changed so much. I mean, Jordan was asking about, the processing photos and prints and things like that, and using the old SLR cameras. Question number one would be, are old SLR cameras still being used? And number two, what is the biggest impact digital photography has had on your industry?
Well, wow, that's a huge one. Yeah, there are people still using film, 35 millimeter film cameras. Film is harder to get. It's harder to get. I mean, it used to be all there was, but it's almost. I mean, Kodak is just about going out of business. I mean, and you can still buy film, but it's also hard to get it processed. I mean, it's almost, it's not that it's non-existent, but there's only a few people doing that now. But then there are some purists, and there is a quality about film that I do like. Film does have a quality. I mean, you can see the major motion pictures. They still believe in the quality of film, and there is a quality about it. It's warm, it's soft, it has, I don't know, it has a quality about it. But now you can reproduce that now in the digital realm. I mean, you can reproduce and get that film looking quality. But digital, to answer your question on digital, I mean, it changed everything in the audio world first, and then in the film and photography world. It just, well, one thing, it like the cost of film could be astronomical if you weren't careful. You really had to be careful how you choose your shots and everything. Now you can just shoot, till the cows come home, and then pick, the best one. But then that gets to be kind of labor intensive. You're adding more work. You still have to select your shots and compose them.
You can just shoot the cows in the field too. You don't even have to wait for them to come home.
That's right. That's right.
So that's an
Good point.
interesting discussion about digital, because in your photography, you've actually incorporated some digital kind of digital in graphic design. Like I've seen some of the photographs that you have on your website, Garrett Strang photography.com. If you want, Stephanie, if you could paste that link into the message box. You've got some pictures on there where you're panning. It's like you're panning, or you're doing some long exposures where you're creating like an artistic visual effect. I assume that's something you weren't able to do until probably digital came along, right?
No, you can do that. You could do that with film. I mean, you have to, all the other conditions have to be right. It has to be relatively dark, and you don't want to. You want to shoot a longer exposure so you can incorporate movement, and you're actually drawing on the film. I mean, you see those photographs at night. We're on the roads with the cars. It's just one big long stream of light. Well, those are long exposures,
Gotcha.
and basically the light is drawing on the film. So you could do that with film, but I do that a lot. I play a lot with digital. I can play with flash. I can play with flash and seize a moment and do a long exposure, or there's other little tricks. I can move the camera. I can zoom in, zoom out with a longer exposure in a dark sort of environment at a fairly high f-stop, and still use a flash and seize what I want, and also get additional movement of the light. So all that's done still in camera. I don't do it in post-production. I can still do those effects in the camera.
Oh, very good. Do you cover a lot of different kind of areas and things in your photography? Do you feel like you specialize in anything, or did your business really focus on like one particular type of photography?
Well, no, I try and tackle everything that comes my way. I mean, I try, and if I feel like that I need to learn something more about a specific, I will. But I guess you almost have to be able to do everything. I mean, there's almost no limit. And I guess one thing I do a lot. I do a lot of architecture for some big firms, and then some real estate for some people, and then I like portraits that can be, corporate or families, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to work with people and to get to know them a little bit and feel, as I'm working with them, kind of what they want, what they would like.
One of the types of photography that I know you do quite well is architecture. I know you're working with Sotheby's, which is one of the high-end, multi-million-dollar listing realty firms, like here in the DC market. What is kind of special or unique about doing that type of architecture photography for realtors?
Well, the big architecture is pretty interesting. First of all, I've been doing some very large developments for some big companies who do huge complexes, and they seem to like the way I shoot their exteriors. I'm very particular about the light and the time of day. I mean, I really pay attention to exterior light. I mean, because I can't control that, so I have to use that the best way I can. And I use polarizers on my lens, and I use nice wide lenses when necessary. But I do a lot of research on angles, the best angles, the most dramatic angles, the best compositions with the sunlight, and not a lot of other stuff in the picture. But as far as for Sotheby's and those guys, I've been doing a lot of really capturing neighborhoods. I've been doing a lot of I'll go out and I'll capture Alexandria or Chevy Chase or Friendship Heights, but that includes a lot of information in the photographs, but they sort of say visually what this is like Georgetown. Yep. I've done a lot of Georgetown, Penn Court or Chinatown, and a lot of these are done like at really crucial times of the day, either at sunlight or right at sunset, which is the magic hour. That's the most beautiful light, and the sky is right, and the lights start to come on, so you've got a great mixture of light coming in right at that window. It's the golden hour. Nice. And then there's traffic, and there's some beautiful stuff. You've got about an hour there to really work the location. So I've been doing a lot of those, and then also some very expensive houses as well.
If anybody in the audience has any questions, the way you can make the way we can make your question appear on the screen, you type a little slash, like a backslash, and then a Q, capital Q, and then to do a space, and then type in your question. Then that'll allow us to flash it on the screen there as well.
Somebody mentioned something about Lightroom, and there's some great post-production programs out there now for digital photography. It's great. Lightroom is a great program, and I recommend anybody who's getting into photography to learn it. It's not that complicated. It's an Adobe product, but it's really a great program.
Garrett, do you also sculpt? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a sculptor. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have anything to show you right here, but
ooh, that would be nice. Are you sure you don't got anything in your office there to show us?
Nothing close.
What?
He does big sculpture. It's like he'd have to probably.
Oh yeah, well here's the piece I just did. Well, this is a design for.
Good.
I don't know if you can see this. This is a
very
big.
Good.
This is a big outdoor piece.
Oh,
very good.
It was a competition, and I didn't. Here's a better shot of it. I think it's a competition. This is kind of like a bird's eye view of it. You can see the people walking around.
Oh
there.
yeah.
Well, it's a competition. It was, but I didn't win it.
Okay. Fantastic.
Well, yeah, but I'm still entering it in some other places. But yeah, that was an interesting piece, and I have to say that I had an architect do some of the drawings on this, and he's a great guy, Kevin Driscoll.
Kevin Driscoll.
Yeah, architecture. He did I did the original designs, and he came in and he really was masterful in kind of putting the finishing touches on it.
Awesome.
So, let's talk. And then I do other smaller things too.
Let's talk a little bit about your BNI experience. How have you seen that as beneficial? Like, we're all members. All three of us on the screen here are members of Business Networking International. For those of you who joined, for those of you who joined into this conversation a little bit late, we always start off this live broadcast with a discussion of Business Networking International and what we do. And so, Business Networking International is a professional business networking group, and the basic concept is we get together, we get to really know intensely and personally all the businesses that are a member of this group. And it's a very small group. If you compare it to like large networks, it's probably 30, 40 members, is what our particular group size is. And we meet with them every single week from like an hour and a half in the morning on Wednesdays. And we kind of go around the group when we get to know each of us, does a little introduction, tell each other a little bit more about each of our businesses. And then our chapter, every meeting, we have two of those members go into much more detail about what their business and services are, what kind of referrals they're looking for, how they add value, and that kind of thing. And so we really get to know, we become like each other's salespeople, because I know Garrett's business is better than probably some of his family does, really, because I get to hear and listen to him, his whole production process, who he works with. I know his clients. I know his I don't know his family that much, but I know I really have a good understanding of the whole. I've gained a great appreciation for photography just from listening and hearing about what he does in his business over time. Yeah. So a couple BNI questions: How has BNI been beneficial since you've been involved? How long have you been involved, and how has it been beneficial to you?
Well, I guess I've been in it for not quite 2 years, I guess, but you were pretty instrumental in helping me get in. And I must admit, I went to a few groups, I guess, before, but boy, I'm really glad I landed in this group. This is a great group of people.
Yep, it is.
And there have been people come and go, but everybody extremely professional, nice, kind, pleasant, easy to get along with. There's nobody. It's just a really good environment, I guess they're all like that. I don't know, but I can only speak for this one. But I must say that it was a great place for me to land because I'm actually kind of shy. I'm not a big marketing guy. I'm not real. That's not my forte is marketing. And I can get up and talk about the work, but I'm not like real aggressive, going out there beating down the doors. And some people just have a knack for that. But this is nice because I can interact in a very personable way, honest way. There's no, you don't have to put on a show or anything like that. You just do what you do and talk about it. And people use you, and they like that, and that's the way it is. And everybody does a good job. Nobody is out, taking advantage of anybody. So that's good. But I'll tell you something else that's really cool is I'm going to be moving to France, like at the end of the summer, maybe August or something like that. And I've already got in touch with the BNI in Paris, the head guy in Paris. He got back to me immediately.
Wow.
They're very strong in Paris, although they're international. But I mean, he was like, great. We'd love to have you. Can't wait to see you, when you come over. Of course, this is like, 7 months away or whatever, 8 months away. But, he really was very kind and said, I'd have to look up, get in a chapter. You have to be the only profession in your chapter.
Yep.
So I'd look around for a chapter that didn't have a photographer. And also that spoke a little bit of English. That's going to be I don't speak great French right now. But, so it's nice to have that all of a sudden, I know when I get there, I can hit the ground and I'll be able at least to, make some contacts.
Yep. Instantly. That's the power of business of BNI. Go ahead, Phil.
Is that a permanent move to France? We're running short of time here, but is that a permanent move here?
Yeah.
Why France? What's going on there?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I've got some personal reasons. I've got some friends over there. My girlfriend lives there. But being an artist, and I tell you, a photographer, I've never seen a playground like Paris in France for photography. I mean, it's beautiful everywhere I've been. It's unique, it's classic, it's historic, and the people are really amazing looking. Really, the French are
very photographic.
Everywhere I go, we have to be careful. Like taking pictures of people, they're pretty sticky about that. But still, it's a beautiful place. I know it'll be tough because it's going to be hard, kind of uprooting and moving. But I've got some really good connections over there, and so I feel comfortable with that too.
Okay. Well, before we wrap it up,
and I may teach while I'm over there.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the audience? We've got about 3 minutes left. Anyone have any quick questions? Can you borrow a chisel?
James, I have some chisels. Yeah, you certainly can borrow some chisels, and I've got I've got hammers, chisels, and you can even come over here and chisel some wood for me.
leave it to a filmmaker to ask you that question.
So,
thanks, James.
What's a good way for people to contact you or to ask you about photography?
Well, I've got information on my website, but my email is very simple. It's isii@aol.com, isii@aol.com. And my phone number, 301-793-7698.
All right.
I'm offering some great deals right now on portraits.
Oh, good. Very good.
Also have a really nice portrait program. But so yeah, that way, I can always be reached by phone. That's right. Or Garrett Strang Photography, and I think my website is on there.
Just paste it in there.
But I'm pretty flexible, so I'm easily reached.
Very good.
Especially
Well, Garrett, we really appreciate you joining us tonight, being our guest for BNI Blast on Blab. You've rekindled my interest in some photography. I love photography, and I'm going to check out your website, and hopefully, the move to Paris will be a great one for you. And I hope you keep in touch with us too.
Yeah, well, I'll be back a lot. I certainly will be returning a lot, and it's been great. This is great what you're doing. Are we going to post this tomorrow?
Yep, we'll talk about the details as soon as we go off the air.
Yep.
I will. We always like to introduce who our next guest is going to be. So next week on February 11th, we're inviting a BNI member from Houston, Texas, and he's the owner and founder of a group called eWeb Results. He's the host of the internet's most popular internet marketing podcast on iTunes, and the number one SEO podcast. And so I'm really excited to have him be the next guest. Is Chris Burris of ewebresults.com. And I'd like to do a little outro music for you. If I can cue this up, the music that we're using here.
You want me to do one of my songs?
We want to keep people engaged. We don't want them to
Yeah, we want to keep people happy. We don't want to ruin their evening.
Nothing personal, Garrett.
We don't want to ruin their evening.
Right.
Yeah.
Garrett and I actually.
Yeah, okay, thanks for the offer. How about some hand puppets?
Do the hand puppets while we do the outro music. That'd be perfect.
We'll leave the photography and sculpting to you. There you go. But Garrett, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And thanks to all of our audience too.
Yeah,
thanks. This has been a production of the BNI Blast on Blab with Garrett Strang Photography and Philip Day.
Au revoir.